Nelson Mandela was born in a small village in the Eastern Cape of South Africa in 1918. He grew up in a rural area, herding cattle and attending a local missionary school. His given name was Roli Lahla, meaning troublemaker. He later received the name Nelson from a teacher. Mandela excelled in school and eventually went on to study law at the University of Fort Hare, one of the few institutions of higher learning open to Black Africans at the time. It was during his university years that he began to witness firsthand the injustices and inequalities of the apartheid system. Apartheid was a system of racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the white minority government in South Africa. It denied Black Africans basic human rights, restricted their movement, and relegated them to second-class citizenship. Mandela's experiences with discrimination fueled his desire for social justice and equality. He became increasingly involved in student politics and joined the African National Congress, or ANC, in 1944, a political organization dedicated to fighting for the rights of Black South Africans. Mandela's early involvement with the ANC marked the beginning of his lifelong commitment to fighting for freedom and equality. He quickly rose through the ranks of the organization, becoming a key figure in its youth league, along with other young activists like Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu. Mandela advocated for a more militant approach to challenging apartheid. They believed that nonviolent resistance, while important, was not enough to dismantle the deeply entrenched system of oppression. The ANC Youth League, under Mandela's leadership, drafted the Program of Action in 1948. This document called for a more assertive strategy of boycotts, strikes, and civil disobedience to challenge the apartheid regime. This marked a turning point in Mandela's activism as he transitioned from advocating for gradual reform to embracing more direct action against the apartheid state. As Mandela became more involved in the anti-apartheid movement, he faced increasing scrutiny and repression from the South African government. The government enacted a series of laws designed to suppress dissent and maintain white minority rule. These laws included the Suppression of Communism Act, which banned the Communist Party and other organizations deemed a threat to the state, and the Group Areas Act, which enforced racial segregation in housing and land ownership. In response to these oppressive laws, Mandela and the ANC intensified their resistance efforts. They organized protests, demonstrations, and strikes across the country, challenging the very fabric of the apartheid system. Mandela's charisma, strategic thinking, and unwavering commitment to the cause made him a powerful leader within the movement. In 1952, Mandela played a pivotal role in launching the Defiance Campaign, a mass civil disobedience campaign aimed at challenging unjust laws. The campaign involved thousands of volunteers, including Mandela, who deliberately violated apartheid laws by using whites-only facilities, refusing to carry passbooks, and engaging in other acts of defiance. The campaign was met with brutal police repression, resulting in the arrest of thousands of activists, including Mandela. Despite the crackdown, the Defiance Campaign was a significant turning point in the struggle against apartheid. It galvanized the Black population, exposed the brutality of the regime to the world, and forced the government to acknowledge the growing resistance to its policies. Mandela's leadership during this period cemented his status as a symbol of hope and resistance for millions of oppressed South Africans. The Sharpeville Massacre of 1960 marked a turning point in the struggle against apartheid and in Mandela's own life. On March 21, 1960, police opened fire on a peaceful demonstration in the township of Sharpeville, killing 69 unarmed protesters, many of whom were shot in the back while fleeing. The massacre sent shockwaves through South Africa and the international community, exposing the brutality of the apartheid regime and the futility of nonviolent resistance. In the wake of Sharpeville, the South African government banned both the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress, or PAC, driving these organizations underground. Mandela, convinced that armed struggle was now necessary, co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, also known as MK, the armed wing of the ANC. MK's objective was to sabotage government installations and infrastructure, aiming to cripple the apartheid state's ability to function without resorting to civilian casualties. Mandela played a key role in establishing MK's infrastructure and strategy. He traveled throughout Africa and beyond, seeking support and training from sympathetic nations. His travels took him to countries like Algeria, Ethiopia, and the United Kingdom, where he met with leaders and received training in guerrilla warfare tactics. Mandela's decision to embrace armed struggle was a controversial one, but he believed it was a necessary response to the state's violence and intransigence. He argued that the ANC had a moral duty to defend its people and that armed struggle was a legitimate means to achieve liberation. The Rivonia trial and imprisonment. In 1964, Mandela and several other prominent ANC leaders were arrested at a farm in Rivonia, near Johannesburg. The farm served as a secret hideout and planning center for MK operations. They were charged with sabotage, treason, and other crimes against the state. The Rivonia trial, as it came to be known, became one of the most famous political trials of the 20th century. During the trial, Mandela delivered a powerful 4-hour speech from the dock, defending his actions and outlining his vision for a free and democratic South Africa. He spoke about the injustices of apartheid, the right of the oppressed to fight back, and his belief in a non-racial future for his country. His speech became known as the "I am prepared to die" speech, as he declared his willingness to sacrifice his life for the cause of freedom. Despite a spirited defense, Mandela and his co-accused were found guilty. Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment, a sentence he would serve for the next 27 years of his life. He was sent to Robben Island, a notorious prison off the coast of Cape Town, where he would endure years of hard labor, isolation, and abuse at the hands of his jailers. A beacon of hope on Robben Island. Despite the harsh conditions of his imprisonment, Mandela's spirit remained unbroken. He became a symbol of resistance for millions of South Africans and people around the world who were fighting for justice and equality. His image adorned posters and murals. His name was chanted at rallies and protests, and his words inspired generations of activists. On Robben Island, Mandela and his fellow prisoners endured backbreaking labor in the island's limestone quarry, cramped cells, and meager rations. Despite these hardships, they maintained their dignity and their commitment to the struggle. They organized political education classes, debated strategies for the future, and found ways to resist the dehumanizing conditions of their imprisonment, Mandela's leadership extended beyond the prison walls. He became a father figure to younger activists, offering guidance and encouragement. He also engaged with his jailers, earning their respect through his dignity and determination. His ability to connect with people from all walks of life, even those tasked with guarding him, would prove invaluable in the years to come. Mandela's imprisonment transformed him into a global icon. International pressure mounted on the South African government to release him and dismantle apartheid. Anti-apartheid movements gained momentum worldwide, organizing boycotts, sanctions, and campaigns to isolate the South African regime.